Hello, today I will be going over the capital budgeting for the new Heritage Doll Company between the years of 2009 to 2014. To start off, if you come to the financial snapshot, which is located at the top portion of the screen, you will see that my revenue, operating income, and net income all did better than the forecasted amount. In 2009, the revenue was 245.75. My operating income was 22.6, and my net income was 13.56. Currently, in 2014, the revenue was 383.51. The operating income was 47.01, and the net income was 28.2. So it obviously went up from 2009, and this is all shown in this bar graph right here. The blue is actual and the green is forecasted, and you can obviously see that the blue bar is longer than the green bar. Also, in this financial snapshot, you can see that the company APV that I was able to get was 844.11. I got this number from going through each tab and critically looking at the numbers presented, and then choosing the investment project that I thought would be the best for the company over those which I didn't think would do well. And it obviously shown since I got a pretty high number. Next, we'll go to the divisional reports and look at this graph down here. So if we first start off with the revenue by division, we can see that the majority of the revenue is taken up by the retail side, next production, and then lastly licensing. If you go to the operation profit, the majority of the profit was brought to you by licensing, and then production, and then retail. Lastly, the total assets by division, you can see that the majority of the assets were brought by production, and then retail, and then licensing. After looking at this data, we will then go to our next tab, which is the project updates, which is right here. Just scroll down a little bit. This tab shows exactly what it says. It updates you on all the investment decisions that have been made. So in 2009, I invested in the toddler doll accessory line, Match My Doll clothing line, the retail store expansion in the Northeast, and the new doll film and DVD. From the information that is provided for all of these projects, they all did exceptionally well, which is great. Next, in the year 2010, I invested in the Dolls of the World initiative, the expansion of the mail order catalog business to Asia, and the Tween book series. There were a few issues at the beginning of a couple of these projects, but by the end, they were pretty successful. In the year 2011, I invested in another Match My Doll clothing line, expansion of concept. Then we replaced the assembly equipment in Sacramento. We got new inventory control system for the warehouse and an acquisition of children's magazine. I chose to do another expansion of the Match My Doll clothing line just because in 2009 when we did it first, it did very well, and if you read this line, it would say that it outperformed projections, if I can talk. Next, if we go to 2012, I invested in the projects for the EDI supplier software system, the expansion to England, the doll video game, and the toddlers music CD series. Lastly, in 2013, I invested in the Design Your Own Doll, Virtual Doll Company, and the bookstore, cafe, and writers club. To pick these projects, there were a couple of things that I looked at to determine which projects were the best for the business. To start, I would go to the project details tab. On this tab, I would look at the NPV, which is the difference between the present value of cash inflows and the present value of cash outflows. Then I would look at the internal rate of return, which is the true annual percent rate of return based on the estimated cash flows. Then I went to the discount rate. So for this 4% discount rate, I played around with that just a bit. I believe it was first set at 7.85, and I just found out that this 4% discount rate worked best for my projects. The lower you set your discount rate, the higher these numbers are going to be, which is what we wanted. And then lastly, I looked at the profitability index, which identifies the relationship between the costs and the benefits. For each of these projects I was considering to choose, I would come to the project detail tab and then look over these 4 details for each of the projects. So if you see this whole long list, these are the ones that I chose right down here. And then these are the ones that I did not choose. So really for each of these, I went through them all and read this small little paragraph. I also looked at the risk that was involved with each project and the risk that was associated with each project. And then, of course, went through the numbers and found the ones that I thought would work best. So we'll just go through a couple of them and look and see. So we'll just start off with the Dolls the World initiative. It looks like it has a high risk, which I took into account, and then I also just read this little paragraph just to learn more about the project. And then I would come down to the NPV, which looks to be fairly high, 78.81. I would then go to the internal rate of return, which is 39.45, which is also fairly high. And those are the 2 numbers that I specifically want to make sure are high, and they will account for a larger APV. So if you just want to scroll down, I was mostly looking at the cash flow statement section. So the total of the cash flow right here, the one that's highlighted, it shows that these numbers are consistently getting larger, which is exactly what we're looking for when we're choosing projects, just to make sure that is always improving, we're always making money. If you then just come down a little bit further, you're going to see the cash flow from operations, cash flow from investments, cash flow from financing, and then the total cash flow. So we want the cash flow from operations to be the largest number, since operations is going to be making, you want operations to be making the largest numbers. And then obviously you want your investments into your financing to take away from that, just to show that you are making investments and that kind of thing. And then this total cash flow is what you're going to come out with. So it looks like 0.05, 0.06, a consistent 0.06, and then 0.07 up to 0.09 at the end in that last year. And then lastly, at the end, you'll see the ending cash balance, and this is just the total for this whole cash flow statement. And again, it is just consistently going up and ending at 0.99, which is great. So come back up here and we can do another one. Let's just do Match My Doll. You can see as well, this is another high risk project, which is okay. This little paragraph, of course, I've already read, but that's just something I would have done. Looking at the NPV, oh, it actually looks like I never changed this, so we can just change that real quick. And it changed, as you can see, it changed the NPV from, I think, 9 to 41.72, and then the internal rate of return 33.1, and then of course I changed that discount number to 4%. So again, we're just going to come down here to the cash flow statement and see that it is consistently increasing right there. Oh, if I can get my mouse on it right there, up to 2.77. And then we just want to make sure that the total cash flow, again, is consistently increasing, which it is. And then that ending cash balance, which it is. Next, we're going to go to the cash flow statement. And I'm just going to stay on the company consolidated tab. So instead of at the project detail tab, it kind of shows each project specifically and the impact it had on the company. Well, this is just company-wide. It's total cash flow statement, and it's total ending cash balance, that kind of thing. So if you look, the total cash flow statement looks to be increasing, which is exactly what we want. You then come down to the cash flow from operations, shows that it's increasing. Cash flow from investments, it's increasing. Financing, increasing, and then that total cash flow looks like it is increasing for the most part. There was a year, 2015, that it did decrease just a little bit, but it did end up increasing more throughout the years. And then, of course, that ending cash balance, again, it did decrease a little bit in 2015, but that is due to some of the projects I chose and their, outcome, I guess. But it did increase, and it ended up from 12.24 in 2014 to 20.61 in 2024. So yeah, that is how I got my total, and it does look like the APV changed just a little bit because I did change that discount. But yeah, thank you for watching.